Just want to do a quick walk around on a Supra we just finished up. They wanted to do sort of a Fast and the Furious replica kind of theme. So got a VVTi 2J basic piston and rod build, nothing crazy. Made around 1,000 horsepower, had an A340 in it originally. Went through 2 transmissions, kept burning them up. Just a little too much power versus heavy car. Powerhouse Racing has been working on a conversion kit where you could adapt a 6R80 from like a Mustang or a Ford F-150 to a 2JZ. And we thought it'd be a pretty cool combination that we could put together for these guys that would hold the power they're trying to make. What we ended up doing is there's a couple companies that make shift controllers for this transmission, but none of them interact with the standalone. So there's no torque reduction, no fail-safes, there's no throttle blips, stuff like that, things that you need with this transmission if you want it to drive like factory. Vitaly over at Motec USA has been working on a 6R80 package for the Mustang, and I spoke with him and I was like, hey, you know, could we do a standalone version of your 6R80 control that has a bi-directional CAN communication, and I can get Jason from Pro EFI to write the other side of that and have them talk to each other. That way we have a fully functioning transmission controller with all the proper things that you need to really make this transmission live. Everybody agreed to it, and that's what we ended up doing. So this is the first Supra swap with a 6R80 where we're running an M130 ECU for the transmission, and we're running a Pro EFI Pro 128 for the engine. Now the transmission controller and the engine controller communicate back and forth with each other for torque reduction, gear shift preparation, throttle blips, speed information. So they are constantly in sync with each other and making sure that everything is happening when it's supposed to. Transmission controller is a lot more complex than say like a US shift or some of these other ones out there, but at the same time it gives you a lot more tunability as far as how the torque converter comes in, when it comes in, how the gear shifts happen, the firmness, the quickness of the shifts, how much power management you want to pull out on the shift. So as you start making more and more power, you tell the transmission controller, you know, at this power level I want it to pull 400 foot-pounds of torque on the shift. It takes that information, sends that information to the engine computer. The engine computer responds. That way everything happens like it's supposed to, and it just makes for a very reliable situation. All the weeks and days and weeks and weeks and days of R&D are pretty much over and done with. We have a complete solution where you can run a Pro 128 if you have a Supra that already has one, and you want to do a 6R80 swap. We can supply you with the MoTeC M130 with the standalone firmware, as well as a plug-in harness that will adapt. And then all you have to do is make a couple small connections between the MoTeC and the Pro EFI for the communication, and we can provide you with the custom firmware for the Pro EFI to make everything interact. There is another option. They do have a MoTeC only solution where it's an M150 that has the 6R80 control built in. So if you haven't bought an ECU yet and you're on the fence, that's another way you could approach it, where everything's kind of in one box. It just really depends on your budget and you know, if you already have a standalone or not. So one of the advantages to doing the control with the M130 or M150 is some of the other solutions that I've used in the past. The automatic shifting wasn't as quick, and it wouldn't hit the shifts quite right. A lot of times you were having to lead the shifts substantially ahead of time in order to get them to make the shift at the right time. And if you notice in a lot of videos, guys are over here in their Supras and they're manually shifting it, because when in auto mode it just doesn't shift well. So that's one thing that is, you know, a big improvement with the M1 series controller, is that now you've got a standard drive, you got a select shift, and you got your manual mode. And your standard drive will drive like a factory car. You stomp on it, downshifts, it goes, bangs all the gears. You go down to your select shift, which is basically a sport mode until you move it over. So you basically have 2 shift patterns. So in your sport mode, you can have a more aggressive shift pattern, firmer shifts, quicker shifts. And then if you just want to play around, like if you just want to shift it manually, which honestly the thing shifts so good in automatic, there's almost no reason to do it. You can come in here and select your gear. Let's just say you want to hold the gear, you can put it in second gear, floor the thing, put on rolling anti-lag, let go of the button, and then you can click it over and it'll go right back into automatic mode, and it will complete the shift pattern automatically. So there's a lot of advantages to this system. It's just a really well thought out and well implemented system.